The upcoming 2032 Olympic Games, slated to be held in Brisbane, Australia, have already become infamous for the whirlwind of controversies surrounding them, from massive cost overruns to a controversial venue selection process and an ever-evolving plan. These Olympics are already being dubbed the Hot Mess Olympics. It seems the road to hosting the Games is riddled with political challenges, backtracking on promises, and the unrelenting question of whether Brisbane is really ready to handle such a global event. Let's dive into why these Games are one of the most fascinating and contentious Olympic preparations in modern history. Brisbane, Australia's Sunshine City. For those unfamiliar with Brisbane, it is Australia's third largest city, located in Queensland, often referred to as the Sunshine State. Brisbane sits just north of Sydney and Melbourne, boasting warm weather year-round, which is one of the main attractions for both locals and tourists. The city is home to around 2 million people and is famous for its beautiful beaches, lively culture, and diverse wildlife. With crocodiles, koalas, and the Irwin family's wildlife legacy, Brisbane offers a unique mix of urban development and natural beauty. But despite its rapidly growing population and development, Brisbane has largely stayed under the global spotlight compared to other Australian cities like Sydney or Melbourne, especially when it comes to global sporting events. Hosting the Olympics has been a long-standing ambition for Brisbane, but it's clear that securing the 2032 Games hasn't been an easy road. A long history of Olympic aspirations. Brisbane's first attempt at hosting the Olympics dates back to the early 1980s when the city bid for the 1992 Games. At the time, Brisbane proposed a radical idea, splitting the Games across different zones of the city rather than concentrating everything in one expensive venue. The bid was ultimately unsuccessful, and Barcelona was awarded the 1992 Olympics, but the city was left with a lingering desire to host the Games in the future. Fast forward to the year 2000, and the Sydney Olympics were one of the most successful Games in history. Not only did Sydney deliver world-class performances, but the event also transformed the city's infrastructure and global reputation. The successful Sydney Games led to a massive boost for the Australian economy and cemented Sydney as a major international hub. In the wake of this success, Brisbane began to once again set its sights on the Olympic prize. Brisbane's winning bid, but at what cost? The bid for the 2032 Olympics was drastically different from the traditional competitive process. The International Olympic Committee has overhauled its bidding process to reduce the corruption and extravagant lobbying that marred earlier years. Instead of a head-to-head competition between cities, the International Olympic Committee now engages in a more consultative process. Cities are selected earlier and are given more time to prepare, reducing the pressure and cost of bidding campaigns. By the time Brisbane's bid for 2032 came around, it was essentially competing against no one. Brisbane's bid emphasized a cost-effective approach by utilizing existing infrastructure and minimizing the need for new permanent venues. More than 80% of the proposed venues were either already built or would be temporary. This approach was particularly attractive in a time when cities were increasingly wary of the financial burden of hosting such a large-scale event. However, Brisbane's bid was not without its challenges. The city's housing crisis, which had worsened in the years leading up to the bid, became a point of contention. Many critics questioned why billions of dollars should be spent on the Games when there were more pressing issues, such as affordable housing and lagging infrastructure. The fear of white elephant projects, expensive venues that would be underutilized after the event, was palpable. The Gabba Stadium controversy. One of the most controversial aspects of Brisbane's bid was the planned redevelopment of the Gabba Stadium. The Gabba, an iconic Brisbane venue, had been a staple for Australian sports since its construction in 1895. However, with a seating capacity of just 40,000, it fell short of the 50,000 seats required for the Olympic Games. The original plan was to demolish the stadium and build a new, larger venue, which would come at a cost of $1 billion. However, the cost ballooned to an eye-watering $2.7 billion as the project moved forward. The plan also sparked public outrage due to the demolition of a heritage-listed building, the destruction of a school, and the closure of key roads, which would significantly disrupt the city. In response to public backlash, the Queensland government under Premier Stephen Miles scrapped the Gabba rebuild and opted for a more cost-effective approach. The new proposal was to redevelop the Queensland Sports and Athletics Centre into a boutique athletic stadium, but this too faced criticism for being a second-rate solution that lacked the grandeur of past Olympic venues. Political backflips and public discontent. The political landscape surrounding the 2032 Games in Brisbane has been constantly shifting. In 2023, Premier David Christopher Foley came to power with promises of no new stadiums and a more modest, less expensive approach. However, by 2024, amid growing public discontent and a realization that the games were becoming more expensive than anticipated, the government reversed course yet again. In a highly controversial move, the Queensland government revealed plans for a new 63,000-seat Olympic Stadium in Victoria Park, which would serve as the centerpiece of the games. In addition to the stadium, a 25,000-seat aquatic center at Spring Hill was also proposed. While these new developments promised to elevate Brisbane's infrastructure, they also reignited fears about the soaring costs and the lack of public enthusiasm for the games. Furthermore, the chosen location for the new stadium, Victoria Park, has been at the center of another storm. Local Indigenous groups have taken legal action against the government, claiming that the land holds significant cultural and historical value. Ancient trees, artifacts, and potentially ancestral remains are believed to be located there, and the situation has raised further concerns about the social and environmental impact of the games. The economic and infrastructure boon. Despite the controversy, the 2032 Brisbane Olympics are expected to bring significant economic and infrastructure benefits to the city. Brisbane is currently undergoing massive infrastructure projects, including the $6.3 billion Cross River Rail project, which will see a new 10.2-kilometer rail line built beneath the Brisbane River and the Central Business District. This project is a direct result of the Olympic deadline and is expected to significantly improve public transport access to key Olympic venues. Additionally, Brisbane's rapid growth, both in population and economic activity, means that the city is likely to undergo even more development in the coming years. The population is projected to reach 4 million by 2032, further increasing the city's demand for modern infrastructure and world-class venues. While the economic impact of the Olympics is often difficult to measure, historical precedent suggests that Brisbane stands to gain from hosting the event. Sydney's economy boomed in the aftermath of the 2000 Games, and Brisbane could experience a similar uplift as it attracts new international business, tourism, and investment. A city in flux. Brisbane's journey to host the 2032 Olympics has been anything but smooth. From initial plans for grandiose stadiums to political backflips and contentious debates over venue locations, the city has faced significant hurdles. However, as with every Olympic host city, there is a growing sense of optimism that, in the end, the Games will leave a lasting legacy. The Brisbane Olympics will undoubtedly be remembered for their complex planning process and the difficult choices faced by the city and its leaders. But in true Olympic fashion, as the Games draw closer, public enthusiasm will likely build, and the city's citizens may soon be swept up in the excitement of the event. Whether or not Brisbane can deliver on its promises remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the 2032 Olympics will be one of the most intriguing and unpredictable games in recent memory. As Brisbane prepares to showcase itself to the world, we'll have to wait and see if the city can overcome its hurdles and live up to the Olympic legacy that Sydney once set. With every twist and turn in the planning process, the 2032 Games are shaping up to be an unforgettable spectacle, whether for good or for ill. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes chaotic journey of Brisbane hosting the 2032 Olympics, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.